a big weekend of Six Nations rugby that's had a big impact on the tournament and beyond. My name's Mark, let's talk rugby. As I said, it was a big weekend on and off the field in the Six Nations. We, first of all, we're going to go through the results and, how each of the games went, talk about the table, and then we talk about the impact of that off the field as well. So, I'm going to start with the first game of the weekend. It was Italy 22, Wales 15. So, starting off, we have an exchange of penalties between the teams. Tommaso Allen and Ben Thomas, 3 points all. Then we have the first try of the game, and it's a nice little kick in behind by Garbisi, and Ange Capuozzo does really well, not only to get to the ball, to make sure that he doesn't have any part of his body in touch, as he gets there to ground the ball and avoids as I said, touching the line or anything like that for the try to be ruled out. So nice finish by him. Then Italy just keep that scoreboard ticking over. Couple more penalties before the break from Tommaso Allen. Into the second half then, he tags on another penalty. They're looking fairly comfortable in the game. And Wales then start coming forward a little bit. And first of all, they have a try ruled out because I can't remember who it was. I think it was maybe one of the locks. Going for the line, stopped short, and then kind of reaches out and goes again. So, it's called in parlance, we call it a double movement. In the rules, that's not what it's called, but everybody knows, I think at this stage, what a double movement is. And the try is chalked off for that. They had other ones as well. There was a couple, they tried the same move twice, I think in the first half, where they had that diagonal ball over to Adams, Josh Adams on the wing, similar to the try that Capuozzo scored. One, the ball kind of, I think, beat him into touch, or they knocked it on. And then the next one then, it was infield properly this time, but it was Josh Adams again, I'm pretty sure, knocked the ball on just before he went over the line, as he kind of slid in to get it. But Wales do finally get their try, go to a maul, and it's a proper rolling maul. We don't see very often anymore, mauls actually do roll, in the sense that players are constantly kind of coming on the roll around the side from the attacking side, and moving the point of attack slightly away from the maul defense, and basically just cutting them off from the ball. And that's what they did. They get over, and Aaron Wainwright was the ball carrier, so he's the scorer. Then Converse is missed, but Wales still have a chance at this stage now. They got themselves back into the game. Then a few minutes later, Tommaso Allen pins over another penalty to give them again a fairly comfortable lead. He did miss in the second half, I think, 2 penalties as well that pretty much would have sealed the deal. But fair play to Italy, really taking their scores and their points when they got the chance. Then the last 4 or 5 minutes or so, they end up getting a yellow card for an infringement close to the line. Then Wales kick to the corner, go to the maul, and Italy collapse it again. And they've done it a couple of times in the space of a couple of minutes. So I think it was Matthew Carley was the referee. He awards a penalty try. Then another Italian goes to the bin. So at this stage, then we got 7 points between the teams. But Wales couldn't muster another attack in the last minute or so, to try and get a draw at the game, an unlikely draw. and probably an undeserved draw, honestly, comparing the performance of the two teams. Instead, Italy get over the ball. They win a penalty. They could, just kick for the posts and potentially deny Wales, any kind of, losing bonus point, because at this stage it's a 7-point gap. But they decide it's better off just make sure we win the game, because if it hits the post and somebody runs up the other end of the field and scores under the post, then you look really stupid. So I think fair play to them. Just tapped it off the field. Final score 22 points to 15. Next, then the second game of the weekend, the other game, the later game on Saturday, England versus France. So in this one, in the first half, France creating so many chances, but their handling was absolutely dire. I know the conditions were bad, but you would still expect a team of their quality to be able to handle the ball a lot better than they did. And for the first, almost 30 minutes, the game was scoreless. But then Bielbieri gets in to score, and then Tom Ramos, he converts that for them, and they've got a lead, but it doesn't last. At least the 7-point lead doesn't last very long. 5 minutes later, Ollie Lawrence is over for England, and that's converted, and we're tied up again. Then into the second half, Tom Ramos with a couple of penalties for France, and they have trying to kind of eke out that lead at that stage, but England coming more into the game, and they get Tommy Freeman over for their second try of the game, and England very aggressive in defence, causing a lot of errors by France. Obviously, the conditions, poor play by France and aggressive defence by England, all combining in France making all those errors. But again, you have to give credit to the English defence, and they really are kind of pushing them. Then Finn Baxter comes on and has a nice impact from the bench. I feel, first of all, wins a scrum penalty that gets or actually before that, didn't Damien Pinot get over? Yeah, Pinot ended up scoring. I think it was in the right hand corner, as one of those ones where was it the right hand corner? I'm pretty sure. Yeah, as England ran out of defenders, then Finn Baxter comes on. First of all, wins a scrum penalty, good platform for England, and then he goes from snipes from close in and gets the ball down to score. Game then at that stage on the knife edge, going backward and forward between the two teams. The first half was not a great watch, honestly. Pretty dire. Then the second half was just brilliant. Second half was what the Six Nations is all about. I think France then about 5 minutes to go, Bielbieri gets in for his second try, is converted, and it looks like maybe France, despite how poor they've played, are going to snatch a win here. But then England, they keep the composure, they work it upfield, and then a lovely little delayed pass from Finn Smith to Elliot Daly. He goes through a gap over the score under the post. Then Smith trying to run the clock down to make sure, or the shot clock down to make sure that we don't have a restart. But about 10 seconds to go, he decides, I'm not going to mess this up. I'm not going to miss it because, or get blown up for taking too long. He knows he needs to convert for England to take the lead. So he converts. We have a restart then. England are able to manage that. And final score then is 26 points to 25, and well-deserved victory for England there as well. They were the better of the two teams. Yes, you could say France created a lot in the first half, but then you have to also agree that France couldn't finish the chances that they made, and that's a big part of the performance was lacking that cutting edge when it really mattered. So really good performance and win by England. And then on to the Sunday game. So that was Scotland versus Ireland. And, Ireland get a really nice start. First of all, they get close to the line, really applying pressure. They've been winning penalties. They've got advantage. They pass it across the line in front of the post, and then a nice missed pass by Prendergast finds Calvin Nash all on his own out on the right wing. He goes over to dot down. Then from there, a penalty from Prendergast makes it a 10-point lead. And then when they have a scrum, I think this is, that was like the 3 points then was during the yellow card period where Van der Merwe went to the bin. Then he's back on, but Ireland have an attacking scrum about maybe 10 metres out. They go off the back, and then Caelan Doris forces his way over to score, and Ireland have a 70-point lead at half time, or they think they do, because Scotland then work it up the field, and they have a couple of penalties to go to the corner. Ireland do all the hard work of actually making a maul unplayable, and all they have to do, ball into the scrum, get it out, recycle it, and then kick it off the field, and that's half time. They can't manage that. Doris again goes off the back of a scrum, gets isolated, penalty to Scotland. They kick that to the corner. They then go from right to left. Lovely offload from Hugh Jones to Van der Merwe, who finishes really well. One of those ones where it's a big leap, acrobatic leap into the corner. Everything up in the air, and then just stretches out to ground it to score. Brilliant finish from him, and a bit of hope for Scotland. And then that continues in the second half, because in the first 10 minutes or so, they tack on another couple of penalties to bring it back to a one-score game between the teams. But then Ireland able to go again. James Lowe gets over to score for them, and then we have the bonus point try. Then Jack Conan, as Ireland were really kind of exploiting the Scottish defence with kicks over the top, Grover kicks and stuff like that. And this one came from that. It was Keenan gets the ball first, they recycle it. Scotland don't have the defence set, and they get to the edge, and Conan is over to score the bonus point try for Ireland. Then Prendergast tags on another penalty just to stretch that lead out a bit. And then finally, Scotland, they get over through Ben White with about 5 minutes to go. But then, they can't produce anything really to give themselves a chance of a losing bonus point. So final score then, Scotland 18, Ireland 32. So again, just to recap the scores on the weekend. First game, Italy 22, Wales 15, England 26, France 25, and Scotland 18, Ireland 32. Okay, so now we'll have a look at the table itself. So let me pull that up. So first place, you got Ireland there, 2 wins from 2, and they got the maximum 10 points from the 2 games as well. So they've got to be fairly happy with that. France in second place, 1 win, 1 loss. They got their losing bonus point against England, and they already got the bonus point win against Wales in the first round. And on points difference, they're ahead of England with a very similar record. 1 win, 1 loss, a losing bonus point and a winning bonus point for them for 6 points. Scotland then, also 1 win, 1 loss, but they didn't get the losing bonus point against Ireland, so they're on 5 match points in 4th place. Italy then, the 1 win, which is that win against Wales, and then the loss against Scotland. They didn't get a losing bonus point in that one, so they're on 4 points. Then Wales picked up their first point of the tournament. Two games played, 2 losses, but they did get a losing bonus point against Italy for finishing within 7 points. So that's our table there. And if you look at the table and you think about the fixtures to come, I think had Scotland, beaten Ireland, I think England probably would have fancied themselves to have a proper tilt at the title. They're still not out of the reckoning for the title, certainly at the moment, but I think that would have been a better result for England, simply because England had already lost to Ireland, whereas if Scotland had beaten Ireland and then England are playing Scotland next, England would know that if they'd beaten Scotland, then they would probably be the favourites to take the title, just because how the rest of the fixtures were going, because they would be left then, and to play Italy and Wales in the last 2 rounds, whereas Scotland and Ireland would both have to play France in those last 2 rounds. So it would have almost been in England's hands at that stage. So the win for Ireland certainly doesn't mean England are out of the title race, but it does mean that the chance for them to win the title is no longer in their hands. They're relying on one of the, Wales, France, or Italy to do number on Ireland, and the same for Scotland as well. They're hoping that probably that France beat Ireland, and then they beat France in the final round, and then depending on bonus points, etc., they might be in the mix then to win the title. For France, they still have to play Ireland, so it's not all kind of done and dusted just because they've lost one game. They love going to Dublin and upsetting the home crowd as well, and they're really good at it too. So they certainly won't count themselves out of the reckoning. Italy's certainly going to be happy, that they won that wooden spoon decider, but they're going to have ambitions to potentially cause problems for the other teams. They drew against France last year. They've beaten them before. They feel like if they have a performance in them, they could get a second win. Against Ireland, they've beaten Ireland before in Rome as well. So although potentially Ireland could be going there for a possible Grand Slam in the last round, depending on probably how the France game goes, honestly. But still, I think Italy will feel like, last game of the tournament, put in the performance, nobody will be expecting anything from them, and they could turn them over. And then England, they've never beaten England, so that would be a scalp I think that they'd really like to get. Wales, we'll talk about their situation, what actually happened today, a few hours ago with them. But in terms of their final games to go, like, nobody's going to give them a chance against Ireland. And sometimes, a team like that, you can just wait in the shadows and ambush a team. Everybody thinks you're going to get absolutely destroyed. Looking up, what's the record score, for an Ireland win, and etc. And then you just produce a performance, and for whatever reason, generally it's because you're performing a lot better than people expected. They don't perform as well, and you sneak a win, and you just need to sneak one win, and suddenly you're on an upward trajectory. So that's what Wales will be thinking now, I think, is let's try and upset somebody. Let's try and make it as difficult as possible for our last 3 games, and really give it a go. Like, they've nothing to lose now, and if they can register a win, it's going to be more than I think anyone, including Welsh fans, would expect from the rest of the tournament. So that's where our table is at the moment. The last thing to talk about then is the Wales situation. So, excuse me. So it's been announced, Warren Gatland has basically left his job as head coach. I haven't read the press release, but it's probably going to be something like by mutual agreement, or it's always something like that, right? And yeah, so he's out, and then Cardiff, head coach Matt Sharrett, he's in to take over on a temporary basis, and then after the Six Nations, I guess they'll hopefully after the Six Nations, because they'll have a summer tour, which you'd love to have the new coach in for then, because that's when you can really get some players in and have a look at what's actually there. So we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, Shard in on a temporary basis for the rest of the Six Nations. But he's still going to be like with Cardiff as well for the rest of the season as well. So like we've got URC stuff coming up this weekend, and Cardiff are playing Connacht, so he's going to be preparing them, and then he'll be, I guess, with the Welsh camp after that, then preparing for that massive game against Ireland as well. And like as an Ireland fan, I wish whatever happened with Gatland, they delayed it until after the Ireland game, because new coach comes in, suddenly there's all smiles, better environment, and you get a performance out of it. And then Ireland could be on the wrong end of that result as well. So certainly more nervous for that Wales game as an Ireland fan than I would have been had Gatland stayed in situ. In terms of replacements, we've heard the names of Michael Cheika and Franco Smith are the two people kind of being bandied about, and then Simon Easterby, who's currently the interim coach for Ireland, while Andy Farrell is away with the British and Irish Lions as well. So they're the three names that at the moment have been bandied about. Doesn't mean that they're it's going to be definitely one of those three. For me, what I'd be looking at is the likes of Stuart Lancaster, who there's been a lot of speculation about his position at Racing 92. Like if they're not happy with him or he's not happy there, he'd be someone that as if I was a Welsh fan, I'd be excited about coming in. I think Michael Cheika, he seems to be like a temporary guy. He'll come in and you'll get a bit of a boost, but then there's no kind of long-term stuff there. You see he's been bouncing about, from job to job in recent years. So not sure he's honestly a long-term solution for them. Franco Smith has been doing an excellent job at Glasgow. Certainly would be someone there. And then Simon Easterby is an Irish fan. We don't want to lose him, so hopefully it's not him. But I think he would do a decent job there. But I think at this stage, almost anyone would be better than Gatland. From my personal point of view, there's a couple of things. First of all, I don't like the whole thing of a coach losing his job in the middle of the tournament. We're getting more like football in that regard in rugby, where and we've seen it in the URC as well, with coaches losing their job mid-season, etc. And now we have like a coach losing his job mid-Six Nations. That I don't like that at all, honestly. I know there's more money in the sport, and we should expect more of this to happen. But for me, it would be better just to say at the end of the tournament we're going to go in a different direction, and then do it then. It feels like that was the rugby way of doing things, but I guess that's changed now, and it's not going to go back the way it was. So we're going to have to get used to seeing more of this kind of stuff. So I wonder now, how long it's going to be until we see the next coach who loses a job mid Six Nations. I don't think it'll be that too many years down the line, honestly. I know with Gatland, there's it was 14 losses on the bounce, etc. So there was a lot of pressure building up coming in. But generally in the Six Nations, you do have one team who will be on a downward dip, and there will be question marks about the coach anyway coming in, and a bad run. Does it now mean that if you're poor before the Six Nations and then a poor run from your opening couple of games, that there's a likelihood that you're going to get the sack. I guess we'll have to wait and see on that. But for me, not a great development, but again, not something that we're going to be able to turn the clock back on either. But then the other thing is, for me, I think, he should never have gone back. That he when he was there, he produced some fantastic success for that team, like three Six Nations Grand Slams. I think was it 4 or 5 titles altogether as well. A couple of World Cup semi-finals for the team as well. But there's a few things about that. One, everyone's talking about it. The playing stock is not at the same level at the moment as it was back then. But the other thing is that he left, right, and then Wayne Pivac came in, and then there was a Gatland way of doing things. He'd been there for so long. Pivac came in, and then everything changed, right, in terms of who the assistants were, and just the way of doing things, the style of play, but also just all of the kind of ancillary stuff that we as fans wouldn't see, in terms of it could be something similar, as simple as who the features are, or the people behind the scenes in the WRU, etc. Right, that basic conscious effort was made to move on from Gatland and change culture, etc. Within the organisation. And then Pivac's not going so well, and they bring Gatland back, and then suddenly you were doing things a certain way while he was there. You then pivot and you're doing things a different way, and now he's back and it's like, no, we're turning the clock back, we're doing it, going back the other way. Now, obviously, he wouldn't just come in and say, we're going to do exactly what I did before, but it's still, there would be certain things that, it's a Gatland way of doing whatever it is. It doesn't really matter in terms of, preparation or, certain things, like, even just little things. And I think, like, we've seen it in sport a lot, that coaches that have success with a team and then they leave and then they try and come back, it very rarely works out. And that was my worry, was that he'd come back and it wouldn't work out. And it turned out that, it didn't work out all that well for them, as evidenced by 14 losses on the bounce. And then, not helped either by the fact that, his selections were so inconsistent that you couldn't see that he was building a team. Like, you look at himself and Borthwick are the two kind of Six Nations head coaches that have been under pressure over the last kind of year or so. But you look at Borthwick and you think, okay, well, he did have some inconsistencies in terms of round selection, but you could see that he decided, made the decision, okay, Lawrence and Slade are my centre partnership. He also decided, Alex Mitchell is my 9. Then he narrowed it down between like Marcus Smith and Finn Smith as the 2 10s that he wanted there. Sorted out kind of a second row as well. There was a bit of rotation there. Still hasn't quite fixed, everything like the back rows, the wings, full back still have to be ironed out. But you could see this progress there in terms of, he has kind of a core of his team that he feels are the guys that he wants to have when they're fit and available, and then kind of tweaking bits here and there to try and find something that really works for them. Whereas with Gatland, 9-10, nobody knew who was going to be in those roles for the most part. It looks like Tomas Williams now has come back in, but he was in and out. And there were so many players, that they cycled through there. Same with 10, like you got, Thomas there, who's an inside centre playing at 10, and all the other 10s taken in, given a chance, discarded very quickly, etc. And then, the fact that he's talking about, it's a young, inexperienced side, but he's retaining a lot of players there as well. It's not like, they didn't have, they had like the likes of, Josh Adams, Liam Williams, etc. in there. So had players with vast experience. And then, Taulupe Faletau coming back into the team from injury as well, for the Italy game too. But the thing that was missing, and, I lay this at Gatland's door, is the middle section. Like, you basically have guys with tons of caps and guys with hardly any caps, but nobody really in the middle around the kind of that 20 to 50 cap kind of, region. Generally you would expect a lot of players in there. And a lot of that is down to the fact that those players weren't brought in, at the end of his first stint with Wales. He was still sticking with the guys who had performed for him previously. And I don't blame him for that, but there was no kind of, looking to the future at that stage. I think he was trying to get as much as he could out of the players that he had at the time. And I think he did brilliantly well with that, but it had a knock-on effect, and Pivac came in and he tried to do that, bring those players through. And he didn't have like the WRU, the fans, the media, etc., didn't have the patience with him that they had with Gatland in the second period in terms of giving him the time to actually do that, to bring those players through. So it never really happened. Then Gatland came back and then said, we don't have the players, but didn't accept really, that part of that was his fault. Not completely his fault because he's been away for a few years, but certainly part of that can be laid at his door, I feel. So at the end then, it felt like it was inevitable that it was going to go. I thought it would be at the end of the Six Nations and then to bring somebody else in for the summer tour, etc. But, I guess they felt like it was just a step too far at this stage. They probably looked at this game against Italy as this is the one we really have a chance to win, out of any of the games. And they weren't able to produce then. So, and at that stage, I don't know, who made the decision really in terms of him going. But it became very clear, that he wasn't going to be there beyond the Six Nations after that. And I guess they, maybe the WE just decided that it's better just get somebody else in for now and be able to start that process to look at who's available to actually take over rather than having a coach, in place and be kind of having to sneak around talking to other coaches, behind his back kind of thing. That happened, but that did happen to Pivac, unfortunately. But yeah, it's kind of, it's sad, but it was predictable, I think, is how I would, classify what happened with Gatland today, and again, as an Ireland fan, I would have preferred that it happened, maybe in 3 weeks time after the Ireland game, because Wales are definitely going to get a bounce from this. Doesn't mean that they're going to win, any of the remaining games, but I think just the atmosphere, around their camps, etc., are going to be, much more positive, and that can lead to getting results. And even if it doesn't lead to getting results now, I think just that positivity, they carry it into their summer tour. They're obviously going to be, bringing players through on the summer tour anyway. Generally, in a Lions year, we're not expecting a ton of Welsh players in the Lions, but at the same time, Lions year, basically your frontline players are either on the Lions or they're rested, right? And then that's your year to give guys, debuts, or just give them more caps, give them first starts, etc. So that's what Wales are going to be doing. And I think it's a positive for them. And I think people are going to be surprised as well about, how little time it's going to take for, this Welsh team to be transformed. And I'm not talking about like that, suddenly like next year they're going to be Grand Slam champions or anything like that. I just mean going from a team that at the moment is, utterly uncompetitive at this level, even against Italy, to a team that can compete, and whether it's only for 40 minutes or 60 minutes or wherever, and then teams pull away, it's a very different thing to going into the game. And you look at those players and you think those players expect they're going to lose. They look like they're thinking we've absolutely no chance in this game, no matter who they're playing almost. And now they're going to get that boost of confidence, and they're going to cause problems for teams. And then over time, they're going to build that into, getting back to winning ways. And, next year, I would expect then they certainly, won't be, going into the tournament thinking it's going to be another wooden spoon. We've no chance of beating anyone. I think that they'll feel like, it's probably going to be one of those ones where maybe one-off performances, get a one-off performance, beat Scotland, beat Ireland, whoever, right, beat England, and then that's something to build on. And then maybe you have a poor performance or a couple of poor performances after that, or, a close one that you lose or wherever. And then you have a platform there to build on now, and you can see a team coming together, whereas under Gatland, we just couldn't see that. But I'm going to leave that there. I could go on talking about it all day, but I guess we have to stop somewhere, right? But that's it for this one. I'm definitely going to be doing a stats video. So I'm going to be doing that over the next, putting all the stats together over the next few days, and we'll have that to you. Maybe it's probably going to be probably early next week, I would say, because we're going to have URC stuff coming up as well, right? And I've got work and stuff, so I'll put all the stats together, and then I'll record the video probably on Tuesday, and we have it out on Tuesday night. Then this weekend, URC returns for a week, as we have the follow week in the Six Nations, so we're going to be covering those. You'll have a preview of the round. We'll cover whatever games we can, probably 2 games I'm expecting this weekend to cover, and then we'll have a summary of the round as well when we're done with that too. Then as I said, we'll have our stats video, and then we'll have our preview then for round 3 of the Six Nations. The big one in that, is going to be the Calcutta Cup game between Scotland and England. I think that's going to be a massive one now, because England will feel like, they have a chance to finally break Scotland's run in that. Whether they're right or not, we'll have to see. Scotland will be looking to kind of, get back on the horse, as it were, after what was not a great performance against Ireland. So I think that's going to be the match of the weekend. It's going to be very exciting. That's the one I'm looking forward to most, honestly, of the games. But yeah, all of that is to come later this week and next week. So for now, just let me know what you think about Gatland's situation, the results from the weekend, how the Six Nations are going, etc., down in the comments.